You're 19. The gas station coffee costs $2.15. The energy drink after it costs $3.49. Combined, that's more than $5, and you don't think about it. Not once. Not for years. Money at 19 isn't something you manage. It's something that passes through you, like weather. Then one Tuesday, a coworker named Marcus shows you his phone during a break, a brokerage app, a number that makes you laugh out loud in the break room. That's from $5 a day, he says, since I was 22. You don't believe him. You do the math anyway, right there, standing by the vending machine, thumb moving over your own phone's calculator, and the math believes him even if you don't. You open the account that weekend. It takes 11 minutes. You link your checking account, the one with $340 in it, and you set up an automatic transfer, $5 a day, $150 a month, roughly, into a broad market index fund with a name too boring to ever mention to anyone at a party. Nothing happens. That's the first lesson, though you don't know it's a lesson yet. You check the app the next morning expecting to feel different. You feel nothing. The number is small enough to be embarrassing. $5, $10, $35 by the end of the first week. You almost feel foolish for setting it up at all, like you've built a machine to manufacture pocket change. You almost cancel it in month 2, when your car needs a new alternator, and $5 a day suddenly feels like a joke you're playing on yourself, while the mechanic quotes you. $410 you don't really have. You don't cancel it. You just let it sit there, ignored, automatic, the way you ignore a smoke detector's battery light until it becomes background noise you've stopped hearing. Year 2. You're 21. The account has $3,650 in it. You forgot about it for entire months at a time, which turns out to be the whole point. You didn't watch it. You didn't obsess. It just kept pulling $5 a day out of an account you barely noticed either. Your friends spend their extra cash on things you spend yours on too, mostly. A concert here, a weekend trip there. Nobody's life looks different yet. That's the part nobody warns you about. For a long time, this decision looks exactly like doing nothing at all, indistinguishable from a habit you never formed. Year 5. You're 24. $11,400 in the account, and the markets had a rough stretch, down almost 18% at one point, and you watch the number shrink on your phone in a parking lot after a double shift, still in your work polo, and feel something close to panic. 18% sounds abstract until you watch $2,000 evaporate in real time. You call Marcus. You still buying? He asks. Yeah. Then you're fine. The $5 doesn't know the market's down. It just keeps showing up. You keep it running. Not because you're brave, because canceling it feels like more effort than leaving it alone. And inertia, it turns out, has been quietly doing you a favor this whole time, working harder on your behalf than your own willpower ever could. Year 8. You're 27. The account crosses $28,000. You've given raises to yourself twice by now. Not on purpose exactly, more like each time you got a bump at work. You bumped the daily amount too, without really deciding to. $5 became $7. $7 became $9. It never felt like a decision. It felt like rounding. You still drive the same car you had in college, rusting a little at the wheel wells. You've stopped noticing. Your girlfriend at the time asks why you don't upgrade it. Works fine, you say, and you mean it, though you don't tell her the real reason, which is that upgrading a car and funding an account you never look at have started competing for the same $9 over and over every single day, and the account keeps winning without you consciously choosing it. Year 12, 31 now, $71,000. You buy a house that year, modest, 2 bedrooms, nothing that turns heads, and for the first time you actually pull from the account instead of adding to it a chunk for closing costs, and it barely makes a dent. and that surprises you more than anything else has. You expected it to feel like a wound. It feels more like paying a toll with money you'd already forgotten you had. You keep the $9 a day running, even with a mortgage now stacked on top of everything else. It stopped feeling optional. It feels the way brushing your teeth feels, not a choice you reconsider every morning, just a thing that happens because you decided once a long time ago that it would. Year 18, 37, $187,000. Somewhere in here, the account stopped being about $5 a day at all. It became about compounding on top of compounding. The growth from year 6 generating its own growth in year 14. Quietly, invisibly, a machine running in the background of a life that otherwise looks completely ordinary from the outside. Your brother, who spent his 20s the way most people spend their 20s, asks you at a family dinner how you afforded the down payment on the lake cabin. Just saved, you say. For how long? A while. You don't tell him it started with gas station coffee money at 19. You don't tell him because it sounds too small to have caused something this large, and you're not sure he'd believe the size of the gap between the cause and the effect, even if you showed him the account yourself. Year 25, 44, $412,000. Your daughter asks you for a car for her 16th birthday, the way teenagers do, casually. Like it's a reasonable request, you almost say no on instinct. The old instinct, the one built from years of watching every dollar like it might disappear if you looked away. Then you stop yourself. You could pay for it in cash, easily, without touching anything that matters. You don't, though. Not because you can't, because you want her to understand something you didn't understand at 19. Something about small numbers and long runways, and you tell her about the $5 a day instead of the car, sitting at the kitchen table with your laptop open, showing her the actual chart, the flat, boring line for years and years before it finally starts to bend upward. She rolls her eyes the way 16-year-olds roll their eyes at everything. You open an account for her anyway, $5 a day. You fund it yourself for the first year, quietly, without telling her exactly how much is going in, because you remember what it felt like to not watch, to not notice, to let the boring machine run in the background of a life too busy to pay attention to it. Year 32, 51, $891,000. You do the math on a Sunday morning, coffee going cold beside the laptop, and you sit with the number longer than you expect to. It doesn't feel real in the way large numbers rarely feel real. It feels instead like proof of something you always sort of suspected but never had reason to confirm. That the version of you standing in that break room at 19, laughing at Marcus's phone, had no idea what he was actually looking at. He wasn't looking at a number. He was looking at 30 years of Tuesdays he hadn't lived yet, none of them dramatic, all of them stacking quietly on top of each other. Year 38, 57, the account crosses $1.4 million, somewhere between a work meeting and picking up groceries, on a day so unremarkable you don't even notice it happen until 3 weeks later. Scrolling through the app out of habit while waiting for a pot of coffee to finish brewing. You think about the alternator, the parking lot panic during the 18% drop still in your work polo. The girlfriend who asked why you didn't upgrade the car. All of it feels distant now, like scenes from somebody else's life that happened to share your name. You never made 6 figures early. You never had a windfall, a lucky trade, a startup that sold. You had $5 and then $7 and then $9, moving automatically out of an account every single day for almost 4 decades, quiet enough that you forgot it was happening most of the time. You call Marcus that week, the way you sometimes still do, 30-some years after the break room. Remember showing me your app that one day, you ask? Vaguely, he says, laughing. I don't even remember what I had saved back then. Not much, you say. That was the whole point. You hang up and sit for a minute in the quiet of a house you own outright, in a life that never once felt dramatic while you were living it. No single decision loud enough to notice. Just $5, showing up day after day, whether you were watching or not, until one day it simply added up to everything.